And we're live. Good afternoon, BounceBack Network. We're now on the 5th episode of Global Entrepreneurship. Again, thank you very much for joining us today. Again, we're here to help you build your global business. We believe that no business is so small, to go global. So I'd like to call my friend Colin Christie from Global Chamber. Please to join me.
Hi, Sam.
Hey, Colin. What a week it was, right?
Can you believe it? We're halfway through our 10-week series.
I know. We were just talking about this, early this year, and then came the anniversary of BounceBack Philippines last March, and then here we are on our halfway to our 10-episode series. Hey, Colin, I heard that you spoke at the UPIS, IT Foundation event yesterday, and I spoke there today, right? So let's greet our friends, Mon Ibrahim, and of course those who were attending that from the academe. So yes.
Yes, it was an excellent event and a great opportunity to interact with educators from around the country. So it's really exciting to see just so many people, lending their knowledge and time and efforts, to education these days.
Yep, and this afternoon, I believe that Doc, Ali got shared Project Sparta, right? with its 30,000 students, So maybe we can, in the second season, maybe we can invite Doc Dom to join us, right, and talk about Project Sparta.
Well, actually, and we'll talk about this at the end of today's episode as far as coming attractions. But later on during this 10-week series, we have Sherwin Palayo, who's also a board member of Analytics Association of the Philippines. That's my other hat. I serve as the president of AAP. And so he's definitely going to be talking about analytics as it applies to entrepreneurs and small businesses. But certainly in season 2, it'd be great to get Doc Ligot on as well, no doubt.
Yes. Awesome. Now I cannot wait to introduce our guest for the 5th episode, Colin. So please do the honors, introduce, our very distinguished guest from your college too, right? So please go ahead.
Well, it's always a great pleasure, especially when I get to introduce a friend and someone and a colleague. So today's special guest is Ray Estrada from Enderun Colleges. So Ray graduated with a BA from Maryknoll College, but also holds a master's degree, an MBA with emphasis in marketing and management from the University of Texas at Austin. Austin, by the way, is boomtown right now in the U.S. Everyone seems like they're moving to Austin, Elon Musk and the Gigafactory and all of that. But in any case, Ray also is a certified management accountant. He has entrepreneurship educated training from no less than MIT in the US, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, as well as Babson College. So you entrepreneurs out there, pay attention. You're getting some just amazing talent here today. But of course, Ray has also been involved in entrepreneurship and business as well. He's been involved in Unirock Corporation in construction and worked for G-Tech Corporation in Texas. Worked in the food and beverage industry. He was a restaurant owner. So he has a diverse background from everything from small business SME all the way up to Fortune 500. So I'm pleased that I get to teach alongside Ray at Enderun Colleges. And in fact, he's the program head of the entrepreneurship program at Enderun Colleges. So if I can put in an unabashed plug on behalf of Ray and Enderun, all of you students out there are still looking for a place, maybe your high schoolers even looking for a place to get your business education. I can highly recommend the entrepreneurship program at Enderun. So with that, let's bring Ray in. He's patiently waiting, I think, here for us. And there he is.
Good afternoon,
Hi,
Sam. Good afternoon, Colin.
Hey, Ray, welcome.
So
Welcome to the BounceBack Network, Ray. Glad to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to this whole session. And good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to the viewers from all over the world.
Yeah, thanks, Ray.
Absolutely.
Colin and I
So,
also
Ray,
learned from the sessions, so we're glad that you're here.
Thank you.
So Ray, we've asked you an impossible task today. Tell us everything you know about the foundations of strategy in 20 minutes.
I know. It usually takes me a whole semester, but we're going to give it a try. We're going to give it a try.
So the stage is yours, my friend. We'll be controlling your slides, so just indicate when you want us to advance.
All right. I'll just raise my hand.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Off you go.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We can share the slides.
All right. Here we go. Well, today I'm talking about why strategy matters in growing your business. And in order to do that, we first need to have an understanding of what the foundations of strategy are. And if you'll allow me to don my professorial cap for a minute, I always like to start by kind of determining the elements of successful strategies. And that being one, which is simple, clear, and consistent goals. And I drill this concept with my students and with people who wish to find out, how to go about creating their strategy. Well, when we talk about simple, clear, and consistent goals, we're talking about conceptualizing things that can be put in its simplest terms so that every member within the organization from top to bottom has a clear understanding of where the corporation or the company wants to go. When everybody is on board and when everybody knows what the goals are, it's easier to get everybody to buy into the idea. And then the next element there would be a profound understanding of the competitive environment. And here, this is where we kind of have to get an understanding of the external environment with respect to who's the competition outside, or what the climate is like, who are the suppliers, who are the customers, and in line with that, by understanding the external environment, we now kind of look internally and ask and appraise ourselves and create an objective appraisal of our own resources, our own capabilities, so that we can see how there might be an opportunity to create strategic fit. And when we talk about strategic fit, it's simply matching what you have and what you can do with what the external environment or what the external business environment is calling for. Now, in the event that we have this, it doesn't stop there. Because the next thing we need to be able to do is to actually effectively implement the plan. And when we talk about the plan, okay, this is where we kind of get into details prior to developing the strategy. So next slide, please. Colin? All right. So when we talk about coming up with a plan, all right, now I take off the professorial cap and let's talk amongst friends. When I talk to people that consult me about business, we always want to kind of take stock of exactly where they are, at that point in time, and we always have this question: where am I now? Where do I want to be, and how do I get there? Okay, and this applies whether you are at that stage of just wanting to develop a startup, or if you already have a business that is ongoing and you're still kind of trying to grasp what we call understanding the lay of the land or understanding the external environment, trying to see how to pit yourself against your competitors, how to develop your supply chain, and understand who the suppliers are, and most importantly, understanding who the customers are. Okay, when we have that idea, or when we have a grasp of that, we now kind of ask ourselves, okay, what am I good at? What are my capabilities? And what tools do I have at my disposal? And this is particularly important for small businesses, because typical of small businesses is how should we put it? A limited amount of resources. They don't. And in situations like this, we kind of have to be very frugal, very prudent with the way we utilize our limited resources. And so it's not a question of being overly aggressive and you putting all our eggs in one basket and betting all your marbles on one strategy. So as you see here, the two next lines I have is how do I execute, and the next is leaving room to pivot, or what we say is having a plan B or a plan C or a plan B. Next slide, please. So when we talk about competitors, we want to understand or get a very clear understanding of who exactly they are. And once we have an idea of who they are, then we know what we're faced with. We also need to know where they are. Where are they geographically? Where are they in the business space? And more importantly, how do you compete against them? So this is what we call choosing your battleground. Do you go, toe to toe with your competitor? And usually, when you're the small company or when you're the newbie into the industry, you don't have that luxury of being able to go toe to toe. So I always talk to my friends, and we talk about, hey, maybe we can fight them in a different battlefield using a different business model. Now, I always reflect on this pandemic that we're currently experiencing. Many businesses, while they may be essential to essential businesses, many of them have failed and have closed shop, and mainly because they have not been able to adapt to the demands of this current pandemic. So why do I talk about this? Because I talk about this in the form of a business model. The food industry is near and dear to my heart. I was involved in it for 10 years. And I know the challenges that restaurants face, but none of them were prepared for what the pandemic caused, where nobody was going out. Now, here's the thing. People still needed food. And if you see now, most home-based culinary businesses are thriving. And that's precisely how the business model has changed. There's no longer a need for brick and mortar because the realities of our time no longer require it, or require less of it rather than more of it. So that's one way of looking at what business models might be available to us. Then we have territory. I always ask them, okay, exactly who do you want to compete against? And would you want to go toe to toe with them, or would you like to find a place where you might be the big fish in the small pond? And there's nothing wrong with being a big fish in a small pond. I always tell them, if the pond is enough or is big enough to sustain your existence. So if the market, if you choose to go to a particular market niche or a particular segment, provided that it is a big enough segment to support your business, then there's, then that's a good start at very least. Next slide, please. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on talking about suppliers, but suffice it to say that in certain businesses, the supply chain is very critical. And so understanding the proximity that you might have to your suppliers might be integral to how competitive you are, or whether it might create a competitive advantage for you. Knowing the size and concentration of your suppliers also has bearing on how they might be willing to deal with you, or what kind of bargaining power or relationship you can establish with them. But we'll go. I'll skip this and we'll go to customers, because I think this is where the, how should we put it, the most important aspects of this talk needs to be centered on. And when we talk about customers, when I talk to new entrepreneurs about their business, I always ask them, okay, so you got into a particular business, and why? I always ask them why. Okay, why that? And I'd like to put two things out there as a caveat to those that might want to go into a business for the sake of going into a business. Number one, let me disabuse you of the notion, or let's disabuse ourselves of the notion that if you create a product, there will immediately be a market for it. Or sometimes we kind of want to go into a business where there are already a lot of players. We like to call that in the entrep field, we like to call that the China syndrome. Usually thinking, well, hey, there are 2 billion potential Chinese customers, and therefore I'm pretty sure I'll be able to get a piece of the pie. It's never like that. If we're thinking that just because if we build it, they will come, well, wasn't that the key statement in a movie? Well, that's exactly what it is. It's a movie. What was it? The Field of Dreams? Well, let's kind of get down to the real here. So I always tell them, or I always tell my those that consult with me, to kind of have a clear understanding of who your customer is. And we break it down into these three things. Number one, who is my customer? What does my customer want or need? Or this is something that we call the customer pain point. And how do I meet that need? If I am capable of meeting that need better than the other competitors, then I have a competitive advantage. So in order for me to determine that, I kind of need to take a look at what I'm good at and what tools I might have at my disposal. So next slide, please. So what does it mean to get to know the customer? Well, I always ask my entrepreneurial students, or those that are in the field, to have a very clear understanding of the market and to be able to segment the market. And when we segment the market, marketing people are very clear on this. They know that the market is comprised of different demographics and different buyers and different profiles, and therefore a need for segmenting the market. So in order to do this, though, I think that the biggest successes are had by those who have a very clear understanding of who their customer is. And so in order to kind of get to know them, we always recommend knowing where their watering holes are. Where do you find these? If you're looking for 25-year-old single males that are into extreme sports, where do you go? It might not be likely to find them in a library. You might be finding them in a different venue. So understanding exactly where to go to find them becomes very important for one particular reason. If we're trying to understand the customer, we need to do, and I always tell new businesses before they even start, to do a lot of primary market research. This is the cheapest thing that you can do before you choose to invest your very limited resources. Do your primary market research, in which case, when we talk about primary market research, this is face-to-face, knowing who your potential customer is, what the characteristics are, what their traits are. And by finding out these different characteristics and traits, we might be able to identify who a potential beachhead market is. Now, the beachhead market is a terminology we use in disciplined entrepreneurship, but it's really a military term, where a beachhead is usually the first point that a navy or an army takes possession of before it tries to conquer a new territory. And so when we talk about the beachhead market, it's identifying this potential segment that can serve, which we call the lowest hanging fruit, because they're the easiest to reach, easiest in the sense that they are the ones in closest proximity to you and in closest proximity to the resources that you possess. And they are capable of sustaining your business. This is what I was saying about, doesn't matter if you happen to be a big fish in a small pond, as long as a small pond is sufficient enough to sustain your business. And in understanding that, we need to be clear. We need to create an understanding of our end user. And so we profile, once we're able to profile our user or our end user, then we get a better understanding of what are his, what his psychographics are, what his demographics are, what his preference are, what his fears and his wants are. And the more keen you are on those things, the more likely you are to be able to produce a product or a service that meets that particular pain point of that particular segment. So we also talk about profiling a persona. In other words, once you've created an end user profile, try to find a representation of that, an actual human being that possesses those traits, and really work with that person to find out exactly what it is, what makes them tick, what makes them, what they're looking for, what they're trying to obtain, and what desires are not being met, and catering your business, your product, your service to that which has yet to be met. Next slide, please. So, in doing this, and I I use this even on my entrepreneurial students. We use two tools that I'd like to recommend that you take a look at. It's easily accessible on the internet, and they're called the Business Model Canvas and the Value Proposition Canvas. So the Business Model Canvas, let me show you. Next slide, please. Okay, if you take a look at this, this is a diagram with 9 different segments. If you take a look at this Business Model Canvas makes a person or a would-be entrepreneur take a look at the different aspects within a business, so that you can understand, one, what things are needed and whether you possess them. So we always start with, let's say, the customer segments that you're trying to serve. Are we trying to serve the millennials, the Gen Zs? Or are we talking about a different segment? Are we more centered on the females or the males in a particular age bracket? And then we start talking about what the value proposition is. Why would they want our products? Because anytime we're trying to sell, we've got to have something that they want. And what is it? What are the characteristics of our product or our service that might match closely with what they're looking for? And so we go through this whole exercise of filling in these things, trying to understand who our key partners might need to be in order for us to be able to deliver the product or the service. What resources are necessary? That way we know, do we possess the resources? If we don't, how might we come about obtaining them? Or do we need to create new partnerships in order to obtain those things? What exactly are the key activities that we need to do, or that are critical to the business that we're trying to get into? Understanding, of course, always the costs and where the revenue streams will come from. So when we take a look at that, even the distribution channels that we will utilize, are we going to work through e-commerce? Are we going to be doing direct selling? Are we going to be using a brick and mortar? All of these things will now be placed in this canvas for us to understand exactly, okay, the business that we're looking at requires this. Is this exactly what we're intending to do? And do we have the means to do it? So that's the one side. That's that's understanding how one might be able to draw for what I would like to call a map or a business map, so that we have an understanding of the things that we need to deal with. Next slide, please. The next slide comes to terms with what it is that we're trying to offer. It is a very clear dissection of the value proposition of our product. Because sometimes, and this becomes very critical, because sometimes people that create their own products or invent their own products are so emotionally married to their products. And in doing so, they fail to see that it might that people or the market that they're intending to serve may not have the same, how do we put it, sentiment or towards the product as the inventor does. So the value proposition canvas clearly dissects the features of the product to understand exactly, again, creating a fit between what the pains are of the customer and what the product is capable of delivering. And by doing this, by having a clearer understanding of the different aspects of the customer's needs or wants that the product or the service meets, then we have we can get a clearer picture at whether the product has a chance of succeeding or not. So these are two tools. I'd like to talk to you guys about more, but I think I'll stop here for now. Next slide, please. Yes, I was right. So if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them. I hope you found this short presentation of help to you. Thank you very much and good afternoon.
Much, excellent. So I think Sam is going to join us again too, and we'll clear the slides and we'll just have a little fireside chat here, even though I don't see the fire. Excellent. Sam, if I can just jump right in there with a burning question that I have. I really love your advice about the beachhead, just to pick, one particular thing out there. I think, as you alluded to as well, we've all become entrepreneurs during the pandemic, and there's all of these food businesses and whatnot. So what are some of the, even though our talk's really on strategy, what are maybe some of the tactical points around, thinking about a beachhead? Can we just drill down a bit on that? Sure.
For example, if we're trying to, I see a lot, for example, I have a lot of students that want to go into the garment industry. And um, they 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 want to serve a whole segment of uh, millennials from Gen Zs and millennials from 15 to 35. And I always ask them, okay, hey, that's a big spread. I know for a fact when we talk about a particular market segment, I as much as possible, I don't like to put two generations together because the behaviors are very different. Gen Xs are different from the millennials, are different from the baby boomers. And I'm the last of the baby boomers. At least my age is the last of the baby boomers. So and given the size of the population, we kind of want to be a little more. How do we put it? This is more target shooting than shotgun. This is not skeet. This is target shooting rather than skeet shooting. So I'd like them to be a little more clear on who the segment is. That way, the considerations with respect to what the priorities of that market segment are clearer, and also they're less diverse, because anytime you need to create multiple varieties of a product to serve a larger market segment, the resources required to do that are higher.
Yeah, Sam, don't you agree, Sam? That's just excellent advice for the entrepreneurs.
Definitely. I'd like to discuss a recent phenomenon about beachheads, right? So the product that I have in mind is actually Andox Lechon Baka, or roast beef. So, it's an in-demand product now, right? And then I noticed, Andox really did several, strategies in place. I think the first strategy, of course, they did a scarcity strategy. If you notice, they did not roll it out, across all of their branches. So a lot of people are looking for it.
Right.
In fact, and then, those who got it, they post it on their social media pages. And then they sort of say, hey, I was able to try it, and say, baka naman, right? So several, observations. Number one, for the first time in history, I think pork is more expensive than beef, right? So in the Philippines, at least, right? Beef has always been the prime meat, right? Meat, you only eat it during birthdays, on special occasions, right? And so Undock really was able to capitalize on this, because of the availability in the market. That's one. Secondly, I think it's a good pivot, meaning that they already have, of course, their best-selling chicken, right? Roast chicken. They started with that one, and then they introduced also Diempo. So that's the pork, roast pork. And then they introduced barbecue, etc. They even ventured into health drinks. Like there's a Javier, and then they even sold eggs, right? So it's like they became like a mini sari-sari store, meaning, they sell all types. But now, they're back in the game, meaning, they're a cool brand again because of this roast beef, or, baka naman hashtag. So again, right, I'd like to, I'm sure you're also observing them, you're studying their move, right? So any insights on that one? Again, beachhead, pivot, and value proposition, it really fit, the taste buds of Filipinos, right? So
right. And if you'll notice, not all branches will carry them. And there's a reason for this. Again, understanding who your market is. You won't find a Rolls-Royce dealership in Marikina, but you'll find the Rolls-Royce and the Maserati dealership in BGC. That's where your market is. You kind of need to fit your product for the market you're trying to serve, and and knowing, as you clearly pointed out, Sam, recreating and reinventing yourself to make yourself relevant again is something that Undox is doing. I mean, they've always been top of mind for chicken, but they've got to be more than that. I want to share with you a strategy that just blew me away, and it's you wouldn't expect it to come from this kind of a business. Here's the thing. It's a sari store. And from the hours of 12 to 1, they have only Yossi for 20 pesos. Do you know what Yossi is, Colin, cigarette? Okay, you can go there and smoke as much as you want for 20 pesos. So, and I was going, holy, are people going? Oh, you can't believe. People are practically in all corners of the store smoking. And this is why. This 12 to 1 is the time that the laborers take their break. And there are a lot of construction workers, okay? And they study that, okay, they want to smoke, but, cigarettes are expensive. And this is a dead time. Even the amount was correct. Why 20 pesos? Because it's just one bill, and they have that bill. So for 20 pesos, they're going to smoke 5 sticks, and maximize it. But the fact of the matter is they can't really smoke more than 5 anyway, because they'll be dizzy by that time. And if you take a look at the amount, it practically works out, to the advantage of the store. And this is a sorry story. Yeah, I mean, we're not, when we talk about strategies, we're not talking about Tesla's strategy and Amazon's strategy. It can work for everybody. It's just a matter of finding, again, what was that customer pain point? I want to smoke, cigarettes are expensive. You give me this opportunity and you meet that customer pain point.
Yeah, Ray, I think that's great. I want to just pick up on this point that you're making, which is strategy is a big word, right? It's a big word. It sounds like a business school word or something like that. One of the things we've been trying to convey to our audience over the last 4 weeks, and this is our 5th episode, is this notion or concept of being intentional about how you run your business. Because we all get up in the morning and we're just so busy with our family lives and our work life, and then if you're top of it, you're trying to be an entrepreneur and run a business, the fires and the emergencies come along your way, right? So and in fact, I think you would probably agree, this is not just an issue for small entrepreneurs. Even major Fortune 500 companies probably suffer from the same thing, right? It's like strategy indeed happens at the first week of the year or the last week of the year or somehow in a strat planning session. But that's not what strategy is, right? I mean, can you sort of underscore this point about how do you weave it into your day-to-day operation of your business?
I'll be happy to try, Colin. Well, for one, this is precisely why when I said in the beginning, your strategy has to be founded on very clear, concise, and goals. Simple, clear goals, so that everybody has an understanding of what the company is trying to achieve, and therefore there is a unity in that. And there is buy-in in that. And strategy is never a static strategy. That's the thing here. To think that you will always have the same strategy in order to answer all of the challenges that are faced by your company would be foolhardy. Intended strategies on their very own actually evolved into becoming emergent strategies. People without probably being consciously aware modify their strategies to adapt. And those that adapt are the ones that are able to perform better. I hope that answered that.
Yeah, no, it does. And do you feel it's important though to somehow write it down or put it somewhere visible or something like that?
Yes.
Think about sort of the real nuts and bolts of implementing your strategy.
Yes. Oh, definitely. Oh, I never used to, growing up, even as a business student, I never really understood the essence of a mission and vision until later down the road, when everything that a company does, if they're going to be true to their mission and vision, guides them towards that direction where they want to go. And the mission and vision contains perhaps implicitly, if not clearly, what the strategy of the company needs to be.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So so make it something that is real and something that you do, as part of running your business. It's not something that you just go off and do now and then. Correct.
Right. Right.
Be there. Yeah, Colin, we have a question here from Karil. So,
Go ahead.
with small businesses rising, replicating strategies is common. So, what can you advise to business owners who are currently experiencing this? Maybe Karil meant that there's a continuous pivot sometimes, Ray. So, because of the changing, well, pandemic environment that we have. So, yeah, that's the
Yes. Definitely. Well, Carol, when we take a look, and I know where you're coming from, Carol was a student, and there will be many businesses that will mimic others. That's precisely what I was saying. We have this China syndrome where everybody, and typical over here, what we call the sari sari syndrome or sari sari store syndrome. You put up one sari sari store in the corner. If it makes a little money, down the next corner, somebody's going to put it up. Eventually, your barangay has about 12 different sari sari stores, everybody trying to make a living. And the only way you're really going to be able to deal with that is to be able to differentiate yourself, Carol. So your differentiation will either have to be through the business model that you're using or through the product or service that you're offering. And you're going to have to keep on evolving because short of it being a patentable product, if your product clicks, nothing's going to stop them from trying to copy you. This is why we have 500 different kinds of milk tea stores or brands now. Yeah, it clicked and everybody wants to do it.
And Kat has a follow-up question. So she's saying that in the new adapted business model or strategy for the F&B industry, will this last long-term during this uncertainty, or will it survive in the next 3 to 5 years? Maybe Kat is asking, after the pandemic, then what happens? So,
is the new adapted business model strategy? I'm sorry. Okay, will this last long? Well, Kat, it's number one. We don't know how long this pandemic is going to run, how long it's going. What its course is going to be, and what new normal will be next year and the year after that. We're still trying to come to grips with what it has cost right now, and businesses are pivoting either through the business model that they're using, and you'll be pleased to know though that business people are kind of keen on trying to reinvent themselves as they see it. This is what I was talking about, emergent strategies. When the realities are post or when they're faced with what the realities are, then your strategies will be able to address those.
Can I pick up on this point about pivoting? We've mentioned it a few times. You had it in your presentation.
Mm-hmm.
I always struggle with this actually a little bit on myself, to be honest, which is, on the one hand, sometimes we give advice to startup folks. We say, persevere, don't give up, be patient. It won't happen overnight. Don't accept all the negative comments from people around you, maybe even family members saying, oh, that'll never work. But then on the other hand, we say, well, have a plan B, C, and D, and pivot. So,
you are absolutely right. Which is it?
Or do we pivot?
Well, let me throw in an even bigger wrench. There's always a saying that 2 wrongs don't make it right. Right?
Yes.
Well, if you take a look at Jeff Bezos, he had a fantastic job and he lets go of it. The first wrong. He starts selling books with free shipping, and he was actually selling it for less than what he was getting paid. The second wrong. Well, apparently 2 wrongs still make it right. Okay? So, but what is it here? I guess when we talk about being prepared to pivot, it's usually, if we've taken a look, this is why our homework is very important. This is why understanding the market, understanding our particular customer becomes very important. And if we have done our homework, identified what their pain points are, created what we think is a response to that pain point, and it does not work, then maybe it's time to pivot. But pivoting because pivoting because we didn't hit the target because the target was moving and we weren't aiming right isn't the right reason for pivoting.
Yeah, I think that point really needs to be made, Ray, because I think sometimes people have taken this idea of pivot a little bit, too literally, and it's as soon as I hit one roadblock, time to pivot. No, that's really not what it is. And I think you hit it right on the head when you said you had to have done your homework.
Right.
You had to have done your business model canvas, and you should have a strategic strategy mapped out so you know what you're expecting. And then on that basis, now it becomes more clear whether the pivot makes sense or not, but not just because it became difficult or became hard.
Right. Correct.
Yeah, very good, very, very important point there. So I think we're running to the last couple of minutes. So I always hate this question when I get it when I'm speaking. So I'll turn the tables and get to ask it instead of having to answer it.
Okay.
And that would be, look, we've spoken for the last 45 minutes about strategy. If you were to sum up and say, what are the one or two things that you don't want people to forget by tomorrow or next week? What's the most important, elements that sort of the key takeaway here in the message we've been trying to deliver today? What is that, do you think?
Well, to me, and it's the one thing or the two things that we've been talking about clearly. Always understand the customer pain point and know whether or not your value proposition meets that. Because I think if you're capable of doing that, if you're capable of understanding exactly what pains a person, and if you have the exact remedy for that pain, the person is willing to pay for it.
Yeah, that's awesome, Ray. That's such outstanding advice. I'm sure you've had similar conversations that I have. A lot of times, young entrepreneurs approach me, and they say, let me tell you about my business. And then at the end of it, I hate to sort of be letting them down, but I say to them, listen, why are you inventing a problem to solve when there's so many real world problems out there that need to be solved?
Right.
And so that's why I love what you're saying about the key way to take a point being pain point. So it's go and address those pain points that are out there. Don't invent some great widget that nobody wants.
Correct. And I come across that often with my students when they come up with their business plans and they tell me, okay, the people don't, and I ask them, is this a problem that's out there? Is this a problem that you created for yourself so that you can create a solution for it?
Correct. Well, great. Well, thank you very much. We're probably approaching your dinner hour already. So on behalf of everyone here at Global Chamber and our partner out of South Africa, BET, unfortunately, our good friend Dushen wasn't able to be with us today. And of course, BounceBack Philippines and Sam. Sam, I'm sure you join me in thanking Ray very much.
Yeah, Ray, thank you very much. We'd like to have you again in our season 2, Ray. So
I'll look forward to that. Thank you,
so
Sam.
Short, but
I know.
Thank you, Ray.
Thank you. Thank you, Colin. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, everyone.
You see you again, Ray.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye, Ray. Well, that was great, Sam. I think we're midway point of our episodes, and they just there's just new key takeaway points every week, don't you think?
Yeah, sometimes it's really good for you to look at the forest, right? Most of us entrepreneurs are now immersed in we're actually in the battlefield, right? So it's good if someone like Ray is saying, hey, stop for a while, breathe, look at the battlefield once again as a whole. Maybe you can see other areas that you can compete in, for example, other areas that you can have a beachhead, right? So really, this is a great reminder to us to stop once in a while and look at the big picture. Hey, Colin, our friend Thierry from Utah is here again. So he's inviting us to join.
Nice to see you again.
Yeah, so he's saying that in 2 days they're hosting a startup festival called Start Fest, and then the Global Chamber Utah is going to be a part of it. So Thierry, thank you very much for tuning in again. So it's 2 a.m. actually in the US. So yep, we're going to promote StartFest. We can promote it in our BounceBack Network
There
channels
you go.
too. So yep, Colin, let's look at what's going to happen. Let me share my screen for the second half. Let me just share. Actually, you'll be back, Colin, on on the sixth episode, right? So
That's
okay,
right.
here. Yep. So just to remind our audience on what up ahead, the second half of the show. So Colin will be back. So Colin, I think I'm going to need a backup. So if this one is still on lead, then need another one to the three-way discussions actually very interactive. So again, maybe you'd like to give them a preview on what you're going to talk about on June 23, Wednesday next week.
Well, I'm going to keep it a mystery so that they have to tune in. So that's why I'm practicing a few marketing techniques of my own. I'm trying to model the behavior. So we're going to be
Awesome.
talking about 3 leadership secrets. So right away there, the general theme, of course, is leadership. And whether you're just even your own one-person business and leading yourself, or whether you're leading a team, I want to talk to you about why leadership really matters, right? And some secrets there, which I won't reveal right now.
Great stuff.
And then but then moving forward, we've got a few. I think at the outset of today, we mentioned, of course, the Analytics Association of the Philippines. So we'll come back to that. And we have a fellow member of the Board of Trustees of AAP talking about how small businesses can gain insights through analytics. Especially, last week we had Reggie who talked about digital marketing, digital channels, and obviously analytics is super important in that. And he mentioned a few things, but we'll do a little bit deeper dive on that. And then the following week, we have someone again from abroad. We have Nazri from Singapore, who's got some really exciting things to say about AI, artificial intelligence. And I think sometimes maybe small businesses think AI is a threat to them, but actually, no, it can be valuable and it can be a tool. So he's going to talk to you about that. And then another good friend of mine, attorney March from Duran Schultz Law, is going to be talking about the must-dos for legal and compliance. Let's not forget that. Very, very important. And then we'll be wrapping up the 10 weeks on the importance of financial planning. If you, at the end of the day, cash is still king. And if you don't plan your finances, you're going to really run into to issues. But before I turn it back to you, Sam, I also just want to look sort of backwards a little bit, in that I'm always mindful that we've got people joining for the first time. So some of you are, the ones that have been with us since episode 1. But in case you've just joined us and just found us now, please do go back on our Facebook page. We have the replays of the videos. So you can see we've already had some fantastic talks, like Ray Estrada from Hungry Workhorse on innovation, and Doug Brunke, the founder of the Worldwide Global Chamber, as well as I just mentioned Reggie, who was talking about digital channels. So just a fabulous plan. So Sam, how do people take all of these things, and what is that little badge at the end of the post?
Yeah, definitely. So the badge, this is the first, this is our first offering where BounceBack Network lead certification. So if you finish all of these 10 and then you take the exam, we're going to be posting the exam link soon, probably after the 6th episode. You can get a certified global entrepreneurship badge, again, coming from the BounceBack Network. And of course, with our partner, Global Chamber and the Business Enabling Tool. Of course, the LMS is provided by Bluepoint Foundation and supported by, of course, Dominguez PR. And this is part of the Digital Bayan initiative. We aim to train 10 million Filipinos on digital, and most of them entrepreneurs. And of course, again, we continue to help entrepreneurs to bounce back better than ever. It always goes back to that. It's really meant to help Filipino and even those who are foreign-based businesses here in the Philippines to bounce back from the pandemic. Yep, Colin, let's show to them also the roadmap. After this one, we're going to keep on building on our initial content, and then you can actually be expert in after this. It's just a matter of consuming or passing the exams in the next seasons of the Global Entrepreneurship Program. So, and then of course you can be a master like Colin. Actually, Colin's a grandmaster. So, and then you can build on top of that. Hopefully, before the pandemic ends, we'll be able to finish this whole certification program. And then yeah, maybe we can help you also in mentorship. In addition, we have an ongoing early adapter program. Actually, Colin. So please like our page here. This is our page on Facebook, globalantrap.ph. Oh, sorry, globalantrap.ph. And this is also our group, facebook.com/groups Global Entrep. So please do join these groups. This is where we do mentorship, as we mentioned, and then this is where you can actually gain access to the business enabling tool. And at the same time, Colin, we're closing the early adopter program already. Again, Descen's on leave, but we can open this again in season 2. So based on the learnings from season 1, and there's an ongoing discount from again exclusive to BounceBack Network. If you cannot wait to get your hands on the business enabling tool, please you can use this code. We're going to post the site now. It's ybrbet.com. Okay, so we're posting it. Please go to that site so you'll find out more about the business enabling tool. Okay.
Yeah, since Descen's not here, Sam, let me just say a word about that. So as some of you joined in previous episodes know, that the Business Enabling Toolbox, it came originally out of Johannesburg, South Africa, but it's actually a phenomenal web-based tool that's used all over the world by thousands, if not tens of thousands of small business people. And it really helps you organize how you run your business. So a lot of the ideas and topics that we're talking about in all of these episodes, you will find all of these as tools in BET, the Business Enabling Toolbox. So we really commend it to the audience, and Descen has been very generous to not only give 70% off in view of the pandemic, but also to donate 10% of proceeds to COVID relief programs as well. So Descen, we miss you. We're thinking about you. Thank you for being so generous to the business folks here in the Philippines. And then I'll also just mention that Global Chamber, of course, is very privileged to be part of this initiative and this partnership. And we also have a special offer of half off on our annual membership for anyone who would like to join that. So, please do check out our Facebook page for more information on how to engage with that.
Yep, we're also posting the URL of Global Chamber, Colin. So, well, again, we came to this is now the end of our show, but I feel like still, talking to Ray and then asking about, offline probably. So, yep, Colin, why don't you close the show? Okay.
Well, yeah, I think we've said it for this week. So thank you so much. We know everyone's time is precious, so we thank you for spending time with us. Especially, we're starting to see some repeat folks here each week, so we're really happy to have you. The beauty of doing this through the digital platform is you can go back, you can rewind, you can watch the replay. So if there's some point that you somehow missed, or you just want to go back and review not only this episode but prior episodes, I really encourage you to do that. So other than that, please stay safe, stay healthy. I hope if you haven't already been vaccinated, one is coming your way soon, and we look forward to seeing you all again next week. Thank you, Sam.
Colin, we're going to thank Sean, Kat, Karel, and Nuri from the back. Thank you very much.
Yeah, sorry for that oversight on my part. Yeah, we're here in front of the camera, but there's a whole team of folks who are helping us. So we really would like to thank Sean for the technical directorship on our events, and then of course our Kirill and Kath and Nuri and all of the folks that are helping us, as well as all the partners that you mentioned, the folks at Dominguez and the other partners at BounceBack and at Bluepoint as well. So thank you very much, everyone, and we'll see you next week.
Do you want to have the foresight of Warren Buffett or Steve Jobs? Growing your business couldn't be easier. BET's unique and easy-to-use platform is your ultimate business companion. Available whenever you need it, no matter where you are, 24/7.
And who wouldn't want their business to do better? Whether you want to expand, increase sales, or spread out to new locations, it's important to know what you need to do, why you need to do it, and how you should do it.
BET gives you all the essential tools that you need to maximize your profits. Keep track of your finances, target the right customers, become an exceptional leader, assess risk, and set goals for your business. cross-device functionality, and a comprehensive toolbox of downloadable pre-populated templates are just some of the benefits of BET.
Let BET show you the what, why, and how of setting achievable goals for your business.